Public Housing Program Eligibility Briefing. What is the purpose of this briefing? The purpose of this briefing is to determine your eligibility for the Public Housing Program. This is the second stage of the application process. Public housing was established to provide decent and safe homes for eligible low-income families and individuals, the elderly, and persons with disabilities. Your eligibility will be based on annual gross income, whether you qualify as elderly, a person with a disability, or as a family, and U.S. citizenship or eligible immigration status. If determined not eligible, you will receive a letter in the mail. If determined eligible, then we will contact you once an apartment unit is available. Next steps. There are certain documents that need to be completed in order to begin the verification process. You must go through all sections of the eligibility packet. Please go through each page carefully. Follow all instructions listed. Remember, failure to report information accurately is considered fraud or misrepresentation and will affect your eligibility for housing once discovered. Please note, every form requires a signature, even if it does not apply to you. If a form does not apply to you, put NA on the top line of the form, sign and date. Correctly completing these forms will result in quicker determination of eligibility. You will be notified by mail if you are not eligible for the program. You will be given the reason for the decision. Lifetime registered sex offenders are prohibited from being on the program. Personal Declaration Form. This form must be completed in your own handwriting. You must use the correct legal name for each member of your household. All adult members of the household must sign below certifying the information pertaining to them. Please print. Section 1 will be the household composition for the adults age 18 and up. List all persons who will be living in your home, listing head of household first. You will list the adult's legal name, their date of birth, relationship to head of household, Social Security number, and marital status. The second block will be pertaining to the children who will reside in the home, ages infant to age 17. You will list the name of the child as it appears on their Social Security card, their date of birth, relationship to head of household, name of the school where they attend if applicable, absent parent's name, absent parent's address. Below that block it states, if separated or divorced, list the address of the spouse or ex-spouse as follows: their name, street address, city, state, zip code, their Social Security number if known. The next section, Section 1, total household income. List all money earned or received by everyone living in your household. This includes money from wages, self-employment, child support contributions, Social Security, disability payments such as SSI, workman's compensation, retirement benefits, AFDC, now known as TANF, veteran benefits, rental property income, stock dividends, income from bank accounts, alimony, and all other sources. The next section, you will list the amounts received below. You will list the household member, if they're employed, the name of the employer, their total weekly wages, if they're receiving AFDC or what is now known as TANF, child support monthly amount, Social Security benefits such as SSI, Social Security, or both, unemployment benefits, and all other income. Section 2 will be your assets. If yes to any, list below. A. Do you or any household member own or have an interest in any real estate, boat, and or mobile home? Check yes or no. B. Have you sold any real estate in the last 2 years? Check yes or no. C. Do you own stocks or bonds? Check yes or no. D. Do you have a savings account? Yes or no. If yes, please give the bank account number and the amount below, with the bank name, account number, and the amount. E. Do you own a car? Check yes or no. If yes, please enter the model, year, and tag number. F. Do you own a second car? Check yes or no. If yes, please enter the model, year, and tag number. Section 1. Does anyone outside your household pay any of your bills or give you money? Check yes or no. If yes, explain below. Number 2. Have you or any adult member ever used any name or Social Security number other than the one you are currently using? Check yes or no. If yes, explain below. Number 3. Have you or any member lived in any assisted housing program? Check yes or no. If yes, list where and when below. Number 4. Have you or anyone in your household ever been convicted of any crime other than traffic violations? Yes or no. If yes, explain below. Number 5. Have you ever committed any fraud in a federally assisted housing program or been requested to repay money for knowingly misrepresenting information for such housing program? Check yes or no. If yes, explain below. The bottom section then states that I do hereby swear and attest that all of the information above about me is true and correct. I also understand that all changes in the income of any family member of the household, as well as any changes in the household members, must be reported to the housing authority in writing immediately. The bottom section, you will then have the signature of the head of household and all other adults age 18 and up. Sign and date. Suitability and credit history. This form reads as follows. Applicant must pass suitability and acceptable credit history. Prior suitability. This will be rental history, such as the tenant prior rental history, including but not limited to instances of paying late rent and or care of a unit, example, damages assessed. A late payment or lack of payment for utilities, etc. As part of the final eligibility determination, the PHA will screen each applicant household to assess their suitability as renters. The PHA will complete a rental history check on all applicants. The PHA will complete a credit check on all applicants. By signing this form, I agree that I have received, read, and understand the above guidelines and information. I also agree to allow the PHA to obtain the above reports to determine eligibility and suitability for the low rent public housing program. At the bottom, the head of household will sign and date. Authorization for the release of information, Privacy Act notice. The purpose. In signing this consent form, you're authorizing HUD and the above named housing authority to request information from the sources listed on the form. HUD and the housing authority need this information to verify your household's income. in order to ensure that you are eligible for assisted housing benefits and that these benefits are set at the correct level. HUD and the Housing Authority may participate in computer matching programs with these sources in order to verify your eligibility and level of benefits. Who must sign the consent form? Each member of your household who is age 18 years of age or older must sign the consent form. Additional signatures must be obtained from new household members joining the household or whenever members of the household become 18 years of age. The second page of this form states on the consent, I consent to allow HUD or the Housing Authority to request and obtain information from the sources listed on this form for the purpose of verifying my eligibility and level of benefits under HUD's assisted housing programs. I understand that housing authorities that receive income information under this consent form cannot use it to deny, reduce, or terminate assistance without first independently verifying what the amount was, whether I actually had access to the funds, and when the funds were received. In addition, I must be given an opportunity to contest those determinations. It further states this consent form expires 15 months after signed. The signatures will be as follows: the head of household with their signature and date, their social security number for the head of household, signature of spouse, sign and date, other household members age 18 and up will also sign and date. Federal Privacy Act Notice for Public Housing. Purpose: family income and other information is being collected by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, otherwise known as HUD, to determine an applicant's eligibility, the recommended unit size, and the amount the family must pay toward rent and utilities. Use: HUD uses the family income and other information to assist in managing and monitoring HUD-assisted housing programs, to protect the government's financial interests, and to verify the accuracy of the information furnished. HUD or a public housing agency, Indian housing agency, may conduct a computer match to verify information you provide. This information may be released to the appropriate federal, state, and local agencies when relevant, and to civil, criminal, or regulatory investigators and prosecutors. However, the information will not be otherwise disclosed or released outside of HUD except as permitted or required by law. Penalty: you must provide all of the information requested by the Public Housing Agency, Indian Housing Agency, including all Social Security numbers for you and all other family members aged 6 years and older have and use. Given the Social Security numbers will affect your eligibility. Failure to provide any of the requested information may result in a delay or rejection of your eligibility approval. At the bottom it states, by signing below, I hereby certify that I have read the Federal Privacy Act notice. Sign and date. Authorization to release police records. This form will be sent to the Abilene Police Department to verify criminal records. Please complete one for every member that is age 18 years or older. You may need to make copies if necessary. On the right side, you will enter your name, address, phone number. Below that, it states you hereby authorize any state or local repository of criminal records to disclose to the Abilene Housing Authority. You will sign and date. Under the section that says arrest or conviction records, you will fill out your date of birth, your Social Security number, your driver's license or valid state ID number, and check the block that applies for race. Do not fill out any information below that line. Declaration of Section 214 Citizenship Certification. Notice to applicant and tenants. In order to be eligible to receive the housing assistance sought, each applicant for or recipient of housing assistance must be lawfully within the United States. Please read the declaration statement carefully and sign and return to the Abilene Housing Authority. Please feel free to consult with an immigration lawyer or other immigration expert of your choosing. The section below will read I. You will then enter your name, certify under penalty of perjury that, to the best of my knowledge, I am lawfully within the United States because, and then you will check the appropriate box below. If this form is for a minor child that is under the age of 18, the adult residing in the unit who is responsible for that child will sign their signature on the line for the adult family member and date it, and they will then check the checkbox that says if the person listed above is a minor and the signature is of an adult residing in the unit who is responsible for the child named above. Debts owed to public housing agencies and terminations notice. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development maintains a list of debts owed to public housing agencies or Section 8 landlords and adverse information of former participants who have voluntarily or involuntarily terminated participation in one of the above listed HUD rental assistance programs. This information is maintained within HUD's Enterprise Income Verification EIV system, which is used by public housing agencies and their management agents to verify employment and income verification of program participants, as well as to reduce administrative and rental assistance payment errors. The EIV system is designed to assist PHAs and HUD in ensuring that families are eligible to participate in HUD rental assistance programs and determining the correct amount of rental assistance a family is eligible for. All PHAs are required to use this system in accordance with HUD regulations. HUD requires PHAs which administer the above rental assistance programs to report certain information at the conclusion of your participation in a HUD rental assistance program. This notice provides you with information on what information the PHA is required to provide HUD, who will have access to this information, how this information is used, and your rights. PHAs are required to provide this notice to all applicants and program participants, and you are required to acknowledge receipt of this notice by signing page 2. Each adult household member must sign this form. What information about you and your tenancy does HUD collect from the PHA? The following information is collected about each member of your household family composition: the full name, date of birth, and social security number. The following adverse information is collected once your participation in the housing program has ended, whether you voluntarily or involuntarily move out of an assisted unit. Number 1, amount of any balance you owe the PHA or Section 8 landlord, an explanation for balance owed, example, unpaid rent, retroactive rent due to unreported income and or change in family composition, or other charges such as damages, utility charges, etc. Number 2, whether or not you have entered into a repayment agreement for the amount that you owe the PHA. Number 3, whether or not you have defaulted on a repayment agreement. Number 4, whether or not the PHA has obtained a judgment against you. Number 5, whether or not you have filed for bankruptcy. And number 6, the negative reason or reasons for your end of participation or any negative status. Example, abandoned unit, fraud, lease violations, criminal activity, etc., as of the end of participation date. Debts owed to public housing agencies and terminations notice, page 2. Who will have access to the information collected? This information will be available to HUD employees, PHA employees, and contractors of HUD and PHAs. How will this information be used? PHAs will have access to this information during the time of application for rental assistance and re-examination of family income and composition for existing participants. PHAs will be able to access this information to determine a family's suitability for initial or continued rental assistance and avoid providing limited federal housing to families who have previously been unable to comply with HUD program requirements. If the reported information is accurate, a PHA may terminate your current rental assistance and deny your future request for HUD rental assistance, subject to PHA policy. How long is the debt owed and termination information maintained in EIV? Debt owed and termination information will be maintained in EIV for a period of up to 10 years from the end of participation date or such other period consistent with state law. What are my rights? In accordance with Federal Privacy Act of 1974 and HUD regulations pertaining to its implementation of the Federal Privacy Act, you have the following rights. Number 1, to have access to your records maintained by HUD. Number 2, to have an administrative review of HUD's initial denial of your request to have access to your records maintained by HUD. Number 3, to have incorrect information in your record corrected upon written request. Number 4, to file an appeal request of initial adverse determination on correction or amendment of record request within 30 calendar days after the issuance of the written denial. And number 5, to have your record disclosed to a third party upon receipt of your written and signed request. What do I do if I dispute the debt or termination information reported about me? If you disagree with the reported information, you should contact in writing the PHA who's reported this information about you. The PHA's name, address, and telephone numbers are listed on the debts owed and termination report. You have a right to request and obtain a copy of this report from the PHA. Inform the PHA why you dispute the information and provide any documentation that supports your dispute. HUD's record retention policies provide that the PHA may destroy your records 3 years from date your participation in the program ends. To ensure the availability of your records, disputes of the original debt or termination information must be made within 3 years from the end of participation date. Otherwise, the debt and termination information will be presumed correct. Only the PHA who reported the adverse information about you can delete or correct your record. Your filing of bankruptcy will not result in the removal of debt owed or termination information from HUD's EIV system. However, if you have included this debt in your bankruptcy filing and or this debt has been discharged by the bankruptcy court, your record will be updated to include the bankruptcy indicator when you provide the PHA with documentation of your bankruptcy status. The PHA will notify you in writing of its action regarding your dispute within 30 days of receiving your written dispute. If the PHA determines that the disputed information is incorrect, the PHA will update or delete the record. If the PHA determines that the disputed information is correct, the PHA will provide an explanation as to why the information is correct. Now, at the end of this form, you will sign, date, and print your name. This hereby acknowledges that the PHA provided you with the debt owed to PHAs and termination notice. Employment verification form. On this form, you will enter in the date, your name, or your household member who's employed name, Social Security number, your address. You will also include the employer or the company name, the employer's address, employer's telephone number, and employer's fax number. You or the household member who's employed will sign and date. If this form does not apply to you, put NA on the top line of the form, sign and date. You will not complete anything in the box below that says to be completed and mailed or faxed to the employer. Self-employment income verification. If you or any other household member in your home has income from self-employment, please complete the following. You will enter in the applicant or tenant name, Social Security number, current address, followed by you will here certify that I earned, and in that block you will enter a dollar amount of the amount that you earned in self-employment income during the last calendar year. In the next section it says, in the 12-month period from, you will put in there from the current date to 12 months out what you anticipate earning in wages through your self-employment and enter that dollar amount for that portion. As a self-employed individual, your earnings from performance of the following work. On those next two lines, please give us a brief description of the performance of work that you do for your self-employment. The next section says, please provide references. This will be information on the customer with their name, address, city, state, zip code, and the customer's phone number. This will be for all of your customers that you do business with. At the end, you will certify that the above information is true and correct. You will sign and date. At the very bottom of this section, it says, in order for this form to be valid, it must be signed by a notary. Once completed, you will need to take this form to a notary and have their signature entered in this section. If this form does not apply to you, put NA on the top line of this form, sign and date. Unemployment benefit verification form. This form will be completed for anyone in the household who is currently receiving unemployment benefits due to a layoff from their job. This form will then be sent to the Texas Workforce Commission to verify the unemployment benefit. Please complete the following. Person receiving benefit. This will be the name of the person that's receiving the unemployment benefits. Head of household. This will be the name that's on the housing application identified as head of household. The next section says, I authorize the Texas Workforce Commission to release any information regarding unemployment benefits to the Abilene Housing Authority. The signature will be the signature of the person receiving the unemployment benefits. You will enter their Social Security number and date. If this form does not apply to you, put NA on the top line of the form, sign and date. Verification of income provided by parent or other. If you're receiving help or assistance from a parent, relative, friend, or other entity or agency, please complete this form. You will enter in the date. Where it says to, the first line you will enter the name of the provider of assistance. Second line, enter the address of the provider. Third, enter the city, state, zip code. On the section where it says telephone number, enter the phone number of the provider of assistance. In the section where it says tenant name, you will enter the name of the person in the household that's receiving the assistance, followed by the address. Further down in the block below, it says I, tenant name, enter the name of the person receiving the assistance, hereby authorize, and on that next line, enter the name of the provider of the assistance, and then sign by the program participant, the tenant's signature. In the next section below, it says to be completed by provider of assistance to applicant or tenant. This will be to certify that the following is the amount that I or we provide the above applicant or tenant. The amount, you will enter a dollar amount in that section, and then you will check either daily, weekly, or monthly the frequency of how much you provide this assistance. Next, you will then have the provider of assistance provide their signature. If this form does not apply to you, put NA on top line and sign and date. Verification of financial data form. This form will be completed to release information related to whether you have a checking, savings account, stocks, bonds, certificates, and other securities that may be in your name or a joint account. Please complete the following. In the top line where it says bank name, enter the name of the bank, enter the address for the bank, enter the phone number and fax number for the bank. In the section below that, for the account holder and or if there is a joint account holder, you will print the name that's on the account, their social security number, and signature. The joint account holder will enter the second name of the other person that is on the account and print their name, social security number, and signature. You will not go any further than that. The section underneath will be completed by the financial institution. If other family members have other accounts, you may need to make a copy of this form and fill out for other accounts. If this does not apply, please write NA on the top line, sign and date. Texas Department of Human Resources form. This form will be completed by the household if you are receiving benefits under the Texas Department of Human Services for food stamps or TANF. Please complete the following. On the top section, enter the date. Head of household, enter the name that the benefits are listed under. Enter the social security number. Enter your address. In the section below that, you will sign and date. You will not complete anything else in the bottom block, as this will be completed by the Texas Department of Human Services. If you do not receive any benefits from the Texas Department of Human Services, please put NA on the top line, sign and date. Verification of student status. This form is to be completed to verify student status for household and family members for the purpose of determining eligibility for rental assistance. You will complete this form for any adult or minor child that is attending school. Please complete the following. Enter the date, enter student name, enter the school name. For the address on the first line, enter the address, followed by the city, state, and zip code on the second line. Enter the fax number for the school. For ID number, enter the student ID number that the school has provided. In the next section, you will enter enter your name, authorize, enter the name of the school to release the information requested below. That next section, you will enter the name of the student, followed by a signature with the date and address. Once completed, do not write below that line. That will be completed by the school staff. If no one in the household attends school, be it adult or minor child, on the top line of the form, enter NA, sign, and date. Verification of child support income. This form must be completed for all adults that will be living in the household. This form, once completed, will be for each adult age 18 and up, whether they have received child support in the past, currently receiving child support, or has never received child support. All adults living in the household must complete a form. You may need to make multiple copies for each adult that is in the household. Please complete the following that's listed on the form. On the date, enter the date. On the right-hand side where it says recipient, enter the name of the adult. Recipient date of birth, enter the date of birth for the adult. Enter the Social Security number. On the section where it says payor, please leave that blank. On the section below that where it says name of the children, please leave that section blank. Once the Attorney General receives this information, they will run the list to check for all children that are tied to the name of the recipient that's listed above based on their name, date of birth, and Social Security number. Followed below on that section, the adult will enter their signature and date. Applicant tenant certification, applicant tenant statement. This form reads as follows. I or we certify that the information given to the Abilene Housing Authority, housing agency on household composition, income, net family assets, and allowances and deductions is accurate and complete to the best of my knowledge and belief. I or we understand that false statements or information are punishable under federal law. I or we also understand that false statements or information are grounds for termination of housing assistance and termination of tenancy. In the block below, it states, I have been advised and I am made aware that I must report any and all sources of income, including employment, tips, sales commissions, bonuses, interest income, rental income, gambling winnings, lottery winnings, TANF, child support, Social Security, SSI, self-employment, food stamps, federal wages, unemployment, non-monetary gifts, spousal support, military pay, imputed TANF, family support, Indian per capita, workman's compensation, medical reimbursement, monetary gifts, living aids income, child care income, and any and all other income sources not listed above. I understand that if I fail to report income, it may result in punishment under federal law according to Section 1001 of Title 18 of the U.S. Code. I understand that I must report any and all changes to income within 10 working days from the effective date of change, regardless of the amount of change. In the next section below, you will have the signature of the head of household and signature of the spouse or any other family members age 18 or older. You will sign and date. If there are more than 2 adult family members in the household, you may need to make additional lines and provide a signature for all of the adults listed in the household. Child care verification form. This form will be completed if you have to pay for child care through a child care daycare center or a babysitter in order for you to complete employment or attend school. Please complete the following. Enter the date, enter your name, your social security number, and your address. The next section, enter the child care provider name, be it the daycare center or the name of the babysitter, followed by the child care provider's address, followed by the telephone number and fax number of the child care provider. The next section you will sign with your signature and date. You will not go any further as the next box will be completed and mailed or faxed to the child care provider. If you do not have to pay for any type of child care, please enter on the top line NA, sign and date. Medical expenses. The medical expense deduction is permitted only for households in which the head of household or spouse is 62 years of age or older, handicapped, or disabled. If the household is eligible for a medical expense deduction, the medical expenses of all family members are included. Medical expenses are those expenses anticipated to be incurred during the 12 months following certification or recertification, which are not covered by an outside source such as insurance. These expenses may include services of doctors and healthcare professionals, services of healthcare facilities, medical insurance premiums, prescription and non-prescription medications, transportation to treatment sites, dental expenses, eyeglasses, hearing aids and batteries, live-in or periodic medical assistance, monthly payment of accumulated medical bills, and medical care of a permanently institutionalized member if his or her income is included in annual income. If this form applies to you with a head of household or spouse age 62 or older, handicapped or disabled, complete the following. Enter your date, enter your name, enter your address. Underneath at the bottom, you will sign with your signature and the date, and this form must be signed and dated by all adults in the household. If this form does not apply to your household, please enter NA on the top form, sign and date. Emergency release form. This form is to be completed in order to have a contact for next of kin in case of emergency. Please complete the following. Enter the date, your name, your address. It reads as follows. In case of emergency or a need to contact my next of kin, I give the Abilene Housing Authority my permission to contact the following individuals. You will then enter those individuals' name, the relationship to you, and their address, followed by their phone number, mobile phone number, or work phone number. There is a second section if you need to include a second contact with a name, relationship to you, their address, phone number, mobile phone number, and work number. At the bottom, you will sign and date. Emergency Release Form, page 2, is the supplement to application for federally assisted housing. It reads as follows. You have the right by law to include as part of your application for housing the name, address, telephone number, and other relevant information of a family member, friend, or social, health, advocacy, or other organization. This contact information is for the purpose of identifying a person or organization that may be able to help in resolving any issues that may arise during your tenancy or to assist in providing any special care or services you may require. You may update, remove, or change the information you provide on this form at any time. You are not required to provide this contact information, but if you choose to do so, please include the relevant information on this form as follows. Enter your name, your mailing address, phone number, cell phone number. Enter your name of the additional contact person or organization. Enter the address for the contact person or organization. Enter the phone number. Enter cell phone number. Enter email address if applicable. Enter for the relationship to the applicant, for the family member, contact person, or organization. The next section says check all that apply, the reasons that we would need to contact that contact person or agency. In case of emergency, in case we're unable to contact you, in case of termination of rental assistance, in case of eviction from unit, in case of late payment of rent, in case of assisting with the recertification process, in case of change in lease terms, in case of change in house rules, and the box that says other, you may enter any other reason. Commitment of housing authority or owner. If you are approved for housing, this information will be kept as part of your tenant file. If issues arise during your tenancy, or if you require any services or special care, we may contact the contact person or organization you listed to assist in resolving the issue or in providing any services or special care to you. Confidentiality statement. The information provided on this form is confidential and will not be disclosed to anyone except as permitted by applicant or applicable law. Legal notification. Section 644 of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1992 requires each applicant for federally assisted housing to be offered the option of providing information regarding an additional contact person or organization. By accepting the applicant's application, the housing provider agrees to comply with the non-discrimination and equal opportunity requirement of 24 CFR Section 5.105, including prohibiting on discrimination in admission to or participation in federally assisted housing programs on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, disability, and familial status under the Fair Housing Act, and the prohibition on age discrimination under the Age Discrimination Act of 1975. The next section, if you choose not to provide the contact information, please check the box. Next, we will need your signature and date. Violence Against Women's Act. What applicants, tenants, owners, and landlords need to know. Page 1. Effective January 5th, 2006. VAWA Protection for Public Housing and Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Assistance Applicants. A public housing agency, PHA owner, or landlord may not deny admission to an applicant, male or female, who has been a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking if the applicant otherwise qualifies for assistance or admission. To qualify for public housing or housing choice voucher, all applicants, including victims of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking, must at a minimum meet the local PHA definition of family, be income eligible, have at least one family member who is a U.S. citizen or has eligible immigration status, pass criminal background screening, have no outstanding debt to the PHA, and meet all other PHA screenings. Some, but not all PHAs give preference to applicants who are victims of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking. If you are a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking, ask if the PHA gives this preference. If they do, the PHA may request that you provide a certification documenting the situation. If you fail to provide a request certification within 14 business days after receiving the request, your request for preference may be denied. VAWA Protection for Public Housing Tenants and Housing Choice Voucher Programs. Reporting incidents of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking to law enforcement, victims' rights, advocates, and other PHAs may help preserve your housing rights. The PHA may not deny, remove, or terminate assistance to a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking based solely on such a threat or incident. Violence Against Women's Act, page 2. The PHA, an owner or landlord, may deny, remove, or terminate assistance to an individual perpetrator of such actions and continue to allow the victim or other household members to remain in the dwelling unit or receiving housing assistance. This does not limit the PHA, owner, or landlord to terminate your assistance for other criminal activity or good cause. A Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher participant who is a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking may request and be granted portability due to the incident or threat if they are otherwise compliant with all program obligations and the perpetrator has moved out of the unit. In processing a request by a victim for continued assistance or for portability, the PHA may request that you certify that you are a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking, and that the actual or threatened abuse meets the requirements set forth in VAWA. Such certification must include the name of the perpetrator. If you do not provide the requested certification within 14 business days, your assistance may be terminated. Confidentiality. Any information provided pursuant to the Violence Against Women's Act, VAWA, shall neither be entered into any shared database nor provided to any related entity except to the extent that disclosure is requested or consented to by the individual in writing, required for use in eviction proceeding of an abuser, stalker, or perpetrator of domestic violence, or is otherwise required by applicable law. State and local laws. Some states have passed laws affecting applicants, tenants, owners, and landlords that are more stringent than requirements of the Violence Against Women's Act, VAWA. Many states have related laws pending. You may want to check with your state and or city for the most current state and local law protecting victims of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking. This brochure meets notification requirements for the Federal Violence Against Women Act. At the bottom, you will sign and date. All adults in the household must sign and date. Violence Against Women Act, page 3. At the top of this form, you will enter the date, your name, your social security number, your address. The information reads as follows. By signing below, I hereby certify that I have been fully informed of the Violence Against Women Act enacted by President Bush on January 5, 2006. I understand that the Abilene Housing Authority, owner or landlord, may not deny admission to the Abilene Housing Authority program to an applicant, male or female, who has been a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking if the applicant or tenant otherwise qualifies for assistance. I understand that reporting incidents of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking to law enforcement, victims' rights advocates, and the Housing Authority may help preserve my housing rights. I understand that the Housing Authority will not deny, remove, or terminate assistance to a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking based solely on such an incident or threat. I understand that the Housing Authority, an owner or landlord, may deny, remove, or terminate assistance to the person responsible for such actions and continue to allow the victim or other household members to remain in the dwelling unit or receive housing assistance. This does not limit the ability of the Housing Authority, owner, or landlord to terminate assistance for other criminal activity or good cause. I understand that an Abilene Housing Authority participant who is a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, or stalking may request and be granted portability because of the incident or threat if they are in good standing with all program obligations and the person responsible for such actions has moved out of the dwelling. I understand that any information provided regarding the Violence Against Women Act, VAWA, will not be entered into any shared database nor given to any related entity except to the extent that disclosure is requested or consented to by me in writing, required for use in an eviction proceeding of an abuser, stalker, or perpetrator of domestic violence, or is otherwise required by applicable law. At the bottom, all adult will sign and date. HUD Form 5380 is the Notice of Occupancy Rights under the Violence Against Women Act. This notice is 5 pages long. The Violence Against Women Act provides protections for victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. VAWA protections are not only available to women, but are available equally to all individuals, regardless of sex, gender identity, or sexual orientation. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, is the federal agency that oversees that Abilene Housing Authority public housing is in compliance with VAWA. This notice explains your rights under VAWA. A HUD-approved certification form, form number 5382, is attached to this notice. You can fill out this form to show that you are or have been a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking, and that you wish to use your rights under VAWA. HUD Form 5382, the instructions. At the top of the form, it reads as follows: to be completed by or on behalf of the victim of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. Number 1, enter the date the written request is received by the victim. Number 2, enter the name of the victim. Number 3, enter your name if different from the victim's. Number 4, enter the name or names of other family members listed on the lease. Number 5, enter the address for the victim. Number 6, enter the name of the accused perpetrator if known and can be safely disclosed. Number 7, enter the relationship of the accused perpetrator to the victim. Number 8, enter the date or dates and times of the incident or incidents if known. Number 10, enter location of the incident, and in the block below that you will enter in your own words and briefly describe the incident. At the bottom of that it reads, "This is to certify that the information provided on this form is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and recollection, and that the individual named above in item 2 is or has been a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. I acknowledge that submission of false information could jeopardize program eligibility and could be the basis for denial of admission, termination of assistance, or eviction." At this point, you will sign and date. The very bottom reads, "Public reporting burden." The public reporting burden for this collection of information is estimated to average 1 hour per response. This includes the time for collecting, reviewing, and reporting the data. The information provided is to be used by the housing provider to request certification that the applicant or tenant is a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. The information is subject to the confidentiality requirements of VAWA. This agency may collect this information, and you are not required to complete this form unless it displays a currently valid Office of Management and Budget Control number. Public Housing Resident Job-Related Skills List. Number 1, choose one of the following. The first block reads, "I am a disabled resident." If you are disabled and unable to work, you will stop at this point, sign the form, and return to the office. The second block reads, "I am an elderly resident." If you are elderly and unable to work, you will stop at this point, sign the form, and return it to the office. The third block reads, "I'm a resident capable of performing the physical demands of the job or jobs noted below." If you are a resident and you are able to work and perform the physical demands listed below, please proceed to question 2. Question 2 reads, "Please contact me regarding positions contractors and the Housing Authority have available that I am qualified to interview for." If you're interested, check yes. If you are not interested, check no. The third section reads, "Below is a list of my work-related skills, years of experience, and additional information that may help employers select me for an interview." Those skills are as follows: plumbing, construction, roofing, cement work, painting, general maintenance, landscaping, AC repair, and other that you may specify. An example: if the Abilene Housing Authority has roof damage and we're contacting a contractor to repair the roof and you have experience, we will provide this information to that contractor and they may be able to contact you in regards to interviewing and possibly hiring you for that duration of that contract to do roof repair. In the section below the block, you will have the resident signature where you will sign and date. You will then print your name, enter your unit number, provide us with a contact phone number, and provide us with the alternate contact number. Rental Housing Integrity Improvement Project, EIV and U brochure. EIV stands for Enterprise Income Verification. This brochure contains information on what is EIV. EIV is a web-based computer system containing employment and income information on individuals participating in HUD's rental assistance programs. This information assists HUD in making sure the right benefits go to the right persons. It also highlights the following: what income information is in EIV and where does it come from? What is the information in EIV used for? Consent. Is your consent required to get information about yourself from EIV? Who has access to the EIV information? What are your responsibilities? Penalties for providing false information. Protecting yourself. Follow HUD reporting requirements. What if you disagree with the EIV information? What if you did not report income previously and it is now being reported in EIV? What if the information in EIV is not about you, what you would need to do? Who do you contact if your income or rental assistance is not being calculated correctly? And where can you obtain more information on EIV and the income verification process? Penalties for providing false information. Protecting yourself. Follow HUD reporting requirements. What if you disagree with the EIV information? What if you did not report income previously and it is now being reported in EIV? What if the information in EIV is not about you, what you would need to do? Who do you contact if your income or rental assistance is not being calculated correctly? And where can you obtain more information on EIV and the income verification process? Applying for HUD housing assistance. Think about this. Is fraud worth it? Do you realize if you commit fraud to obtain assisted housing from HUD, you could be evicted from your apartment or house, required to repay all overpaid rental assistance you received, fined up to $10,000, imprisoned for up to 5 years, prohibited from receiving future assistance, and subject to state and local government penalties? Do you know you are committing fraud if you sign a form knowing that you provided false or misleading information? The information you provide on housing assistance application and recertification forms will be checked. The local housing agency, HUD, or the Office of Inspector General will check the income and asset information you provide with other federal, state, or local governments and with private agencies. Certifying false information is fraud. So be careful. When you fill out your application and yearly certification for housing from HUD, make sure your answers to the questions are accurate and honest. You must include all sources of income and changes in income you or any members of your household receive, such as wages, welfare payments, Social Security and veteran payments, pensions, and retirement. Any money received on behalf of your children, such as child support, AFDC, which is now known as TANF payments, and Social Security for children or any other income. Any increase in income such as wages from a new job or an expected pay raise or bonus. All assets such as bank accounts, savings bonds, certificates of deposits, stocks, real estate that are owned by you or any member of your household. All income from assets such as interest from savings and checking accounts, stocks, dividends, etc. Any business or asset such as your home that you sold in the last 2 years at less than full value. The names of everyone, adults or children, relatives and non-relatives, who are living with you and make up your household. Important notice for Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Rita evacuees. HUD's reporting requirements may be temporarily waived or suspended because of your circumstances. Contact the local housing agency before you complete the housing assistance application. Ask questions. If you don't understand something on the application or recertification form, always ask questions. It's better to be safe than sorry. Watch out for housing assistance scams. Don't pay money to have someone fill out housing assistance applications and recertification forms for you. Don't pay money to move up on a waiting list. Don't pay for anything that is not covered by your lease. Get a receipt for any money you pay. Get a written explanation if you are required to pay for anything other than rent, maintenance, or utility charges. Report fraud. If you know of anyone who provided false information on a HUD housing assistance application or recertification, or if anyone tells you to provide false information, report that person to the HUD Office of Inspector General hotline. You can call the hotline toll-free Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time at 1-800-347-3735. You can fax information to 202-708-4829 or email it to hotline@hudoig.gov. You can write the hotline at HUD OIG Hotline, GFI, 451 7th Street, Southwest, Washington, D.C., 20410. Submitting documents along with your completed eligibility briefing packet. Eligibility documents may be submitted to our offices by mail, fax, or email. Please ensure all documents are clear and legible to prevent processing delays. For any additional questions, please contact us. Our address is 4398 North 7th Street, Abilene, Texas, 79603. Our phone number is 325-676-6032. The public housing fax number is 325-738-8091. For relay services, call 711 or 1-800-RELAY Texas. Our website is www.abileneha.org, and our email is phinfo@abileneha.org. Thank you.